Let's talk about one of the simplest ways you can create a mental health friendly environment at work. And that's going to be talking about self care and what self care looks like for your employees, helping to create that environment that encourages employee self care, and then also walking the walk, which means that you practice it yourself as well. So let's look at a few different things that can be essential aspects um, of self care at work, right? And I want you to keep in mind this does not mean just like meeting deadlines or hitting targets. It's about taking care of yourself so that you can perform your best, you can feel your healthiest mentally and probably physically as well. And there are a few very simple, powerful ways that you can do this. The first is setting boundaries. And so this is a crucial aspect of self care, and setting boundaries may sound like something silly to you or even maybe just like too obvious to you. But what it really means is that we are establishing clear limits on our work hours. We're communicating with others about what we are currently capable of, what we're currently capable of handling or working with. And we're doing this so that we can create space for rest and relaxation and personal time. And this is going to help prevent burnout, and it's going to maintain that healthy work life balance. Now, sometimes people are really, really bad at identifying the boundaries they need or even setting those boundaries. And so, this again is where you can walk the walk. You can demonstrate to employees what it means to set good boundaries. And so maybe that means that when the day is over, you close your laptop and you go home, if that's something that's an aspect of your work. It also might mean that you set boundaries when it comes to your weekends or your evenings, right? But perhaps you're in a work environment that's a little bit more of a flow, or there are looser boundaries around when people can be communicated with, or maybe you have deadlines that are kind of all over the place and it feels like your that time can't be cut off so easily. What you can encourage your employees to do, though, is be thoughtful about specific boundaries, say having dinner with their family, having gym time, having time for rest, making sure that they don't feel that pressure that they always have to be on, they always have to be working, they always have to be present at work. Because what you're going to find is that that's going to use a lot of their energy and it's going to diminish over time, and they will eventually head into this stage of burnout if they feel like they don't have any control over work, if they feel like all their energy is going towards work. So you want to encourage boundaries. Boundaries can also mean, if possible, the amount of work that they're taking on. So if you can help people strategize how to distribute work, if that's possible, or even how to maybe have boundaries with things that take their time at work. So you might help them, decrease maybe some time wasters and focus on things that are more productive for them. That sounds a little bit like that's not self care, but I promise you, helping people learn to manage their time can be self care, because what you're encouraging is that if we can get the work done and if we can do it in a way that is focused and productive, then you can actually decrease some of that lost time that where we start to lose our boundaries. All right. The next would be taking breaks. You want to encourage your employees to take breaks. You want them to stand up if they're at a desk all day. You want them to be able to walk around, move their body, go outside, see the sun if that's possible. Feel like they have some time and opportunity to take a regular break, right? And it's just important to clear your mind, to help move your body so you don't get too stiff, and that we don't experience the impact of the job itself. Now, if you are working, say, on an assembly line, breaks are scheduled in, and I want you to, you can encourage your employees to be really thoughtful about what they do about that time, so that they're using it in a way that maybe feels good and restorative versus, mindlessly scrolling on their phone. Of course, you can't control what your employees are going to do in that regard, but at the same time, You can always encourage it, and you, again, can walk the walk, not just talk the talk. Another would be mindful eating, which sounds a little bizarre maybe for work, but what that means is that you want people to, if they can take their lunch break, right? Give themselves, again, this kind of goes back into boundaries and breaks. Give themselves time to slow down and eat their food, to be present with their lunch. And I know that can sound a little bit silly, but that impacts the way you digest your food. If you're chewing and eating quickly and you're on your computer, or you're working and you're talking to people and you are not paying attention, you might eat really, really fast, and that's going to impact the way you feel. It's going to impact the way you digest. It's going to impact the energy that your body is going to experience later. You might even notice if you're eating something that's, if you're just kind of consuming snacks all day, that's going to impact your energy. So you want to encourage healthy eating at work. You want to encourage people to be mindful about taking time, slowing down, and letting themselves have a little bit of a snack or a meal at work so that they are not feeling that pressure. And then you want to encourage mindfulness. So this is a really big one that sounds kind of simple and it can be hard to implement. But mindfulness is really about, bringing yourself to the present moment. And so mindfulness can be a really great way of reducing stress. And I'll just tell you one simple way that I encourage people to practice mindfulness at work. And that is in between tasks. So if it's writing an email, if it is doing a spreadsheet, if it's if there's a break on, say, the assembly line or checking boxes or something along those lines, any small moment of a break, pause, close your eyes, and take 3 breaths. And usually on the 3rd breath, you start to feel a little bit more in tune and aligned with yourself. You might be able to kind of notice some of the things that you've done throughout that day, whether it's, oh, I didn't eat today, or, oh, I'm kind of stressed right now, or, oh, my shoulders hurt, right? It's an opportunity to slow down and pay attention to how you're doing and what your needs are. It also increases a sense of calm and clarity in our minds. So 3 breaths throughout the day, in just little, any opportunity. It could be anytime you stand up and walk through a doorway, take 3 deep breaths. If you get in your car at the end of the day, take 3 deep breaths. Encouraging people to slow down, right? Take a moment can help them assess and identify what their needs are. Because what often happens, especially at work, is we feel the pressure of work, we feel the stressors of work, and we have a difficult time assessing how to prioritize those stressors, or how important those stressors are. And sometimes people will either become self-sacrificing and they will get tunnel vision, they will go on autopilot, and they will just focus on those pressures, those stressors that they're experiencing at work, and then later feel the repercussions and start to head down that path of burnout. Or people can go in the other direction where they can start to feel numb and not care, which is another aspect of burnout. And so I'm not saying that, of course, if you do none of these things, that your employees are absolutely going to be heading towards burnout, because that's not true. But we know that many, many more people have been experiencing some form of burnout. And so it's important to acknowledge the different ways in which we can help encourage employees to just take a moment, slow down, and take care of yourself. Remember, an employee is just as responsible for their own well-being as the employer is for creating that work environment that can be mentally healthy.